Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Shali Genga. Welcome to episode 13 of our podcast. I am so excited. We have a wonderful guest. I was able to know her in my time when I worked in the media. You know, we do so many stories, and there are certain stories that remain with you even after you've done it. I really hope that what we discuss today will inspire you and set your heart aflame and set you in the right direction to be a better version of yourself. So I'll let our guest introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shirley. My name is Lucy Wanjiku Njenga. I am a founder and executive director of a community-based organization in Nairobi, Positive Young Women Voices. I am also a mom, an author of an awesome memoir that I've done. Here it is, titled Hope Made a Way. And I'm really excited to be here. So thank you so much for having me.
Welcome. Every time I bring a guest on my podcast, we always discuss the word that we are going to focus on. And so when I called Lucy the first time, I was like, Lucy, what word do you feel like you'd be comfortable talking about, and what word would be able to describe maybe a very important aspect of your life? And she was like, she chose the word excellent. And in many ways, you'll come to find that Lucy is very excellent in the things that she does and the things that she pursues. But a few days ago, I reflected on her, and another word popped into my mind, and that was faith. From the moment I met Lucy, the two words that describe her best are excellence and faith. Now, the dictionary describes excellence as the quality of being outstanding or extremely good. And if you Google her name or if you follow her, you will realize that she is excellent. And faith, the dictionary defines faith as confidence or trust in a person or thing, the belief that is not based on proof. While that is a good definition of faith, I feel like Lucy embodies the definition of faith that is found in the Bible. And very interestingly enough, correct me if I'm wrong, the Bible doesn't define many words, but it does define what faith is. It defines faith in Hebrews 11:1 as, now faith is the confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. So it's having hope in something and having hope and assurance in something that you cannot see. This is what ancients were recommended for. And as we talk with Lucy, you'll come to realize that on many occasions, she has had faith in things that have seemed impossible. And in different times that our lives have crossed. I met her, I think, about 11 years ago when I was still working in the media. And my mind was often blown by how much faith she had. So I'll let Lucy introduce herself and maybe just tell us a little bit about her background, where she grew up, her family, and maybe just a bit of her experiences. Yeah.
Sure. So I grew up in the different slums in Nairobi and a bit of rural Murang'a, Nakuru. So I had a bit of urban and rural, which is really exciting. I'm the firstborn in a family of 3. So that meant firstborn daughters in our African culture, we know, you kind of take responsibility quite earlier on. But I used to love it. I used to love being there for my siblings, taking care of them. I loved being a big sister. I was even a big sister to kids who were not even my siblings. If I found a neighbor whose kids looks weird, dirty, I would wash them, find like a cloth that they can fit and send them their way. So mothers were like, wow, I've never seen this. And that, I think, geared me to where I am now, being able to, wanting to do more for people, wanting to take care of people. But I remember the most I remember, I was looking at my story and wanting to see those times I used to enjoy. When I was in Murang'a, we used to do the sliding ya matope. Up to date, I remember your sliding Kovatofe was really interesting. And at some point, you were wearing the flimmiest of clothes. You almost look like as if you're naked. So I miss those times when the innocence of being a child was just that, I don't even remember being beaten afterwards, but I remember the sliding. I also remember it was a bit hard, and I highlight it in my book. whereby I got introduced to things that I would not want any other child to experience. Being sexually abused at 8 by those people who should have been looking out for me. And the moment I found an opportunity to change that story for anyone, I took it. I took it upon myself, just to teach kids. This is good touch. This is wrong touch. Actually, people who are going to abuse you are probably not strangers. They are people within your circle.
Yeah, that's true.
They are people who your parents trust with you. And even if you were to say they did something, they would probably not believe and they would get away with it. So having those conversations and also being very intentional about ending violence against women and girls. So we do a lot of that work in Dandora, where I identify with now, because that's where I got to understand myself. But before that, I can say I had a fairly typical African childhood. Kuchapwa, beaten proper. Spare the rod, spoil the child. That was a thing in our house. What else? What else is there to say? Yeah, I just had I think a normal childhood. Maybe something I could mention for me was the fear of parents. I don't know if everyone millennials we had that. Like you truly fear your parents. Like anything they say goes, because this is God. We are told this is God. So I think for me that was a thing. And I also wondered the relationship, your parents, the one that I would see on TV, where you are joking and laughing. I didn't have a lot of that. I used to be really afraid of my parents. I would start laughing or making jokes, and somehow it seemed to always be misplaced. I tend to be quite weird sometimes, so it was always misplaced. And now that I have a daughter, I see myself in her. And I see how I used to question things.
Oh, you're curious.
Yes, I was so curious, extra curious. When I was 10, there was this OB advert on TV. And I went ahead and we were seated at the sitting room just after eating. And I asked, what is this OB? Where the eyes I was given. So I was always that curious kid. And it didn't sit well with our culture, with our household. It just seemed like when talking mbele sana.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that made me take time before I started speaking up for my rights, speaking up for others. But once I went back on track on that, I've never been silent.
I don't know if you mind me taking you back a little bit. Were you able to tell your parents about the abuse that happened, the sexual abuse?
No, I never did.
How do you feel like it changed you? Now looking back on your life, how do you feel like it changed you?
It changed the way I view men and the way I see them. These figures, because the abuse was from a principal. He was a really old man. Up to date, I'm just afraid of old men, for sure. And I felt like you can't really trust people that much. And also the way I related to sex and what it is and how to have it, how to be curious about it. I was just... The thought crossed my mind of sex, I would feel pain. I can't tell you exactly. I can't explain it fully, but I never looked forward to sex. I don't think up to date I have a very good sitting with sex. It's not something I look forward to enjoyingly. Though I've had a bit of healing on that, there's still a long way to go.
Yeah.
And I started in my 30s. My 20s I was still dealing.
Okay. Yeah. And now, like, what advice would you give, like, a younger girl maybe who might be experiencing that, or maybe does not know how to approach the subject, or maybe someone who's older now and maybe they're having to deal with the impacts, because every action, there's always a reaction. Yeah.
True.
Like what would be your reflection on that?
If you're a girl and you suspect, leave alone even before it happens, if you suspect someone is being too close than for comfort, like you can already tell this person. The teacher started progressively. It didn't just happen. He would call me in his office and put his hand up my dress and touch my vulva. And I'm thinking, this seems so awkward and weird. But I didn't know who to go and tell. And by the time I wanted to tell someone, that person again also started doing the same thing. So I was like, is this something that people do? It just feels wrong, but I don't know. So before even it progresses, just find someone. I wish I knew I could go to someone else, maybe another teacher. There would just have been someone. And also, if you're a parent, I like the generation of parents now. They're becoming more exposed to this, most of them. So they are talking of your private parts and no one should touch at a fairly young age. So keeping that conversation going and telling them that it's not someone who's coming from far. And knowing that if someone doesn't believe you or someone does the same thing, look for someone. Someone will eventually believe you. Keep looking for someone you can tell. For me, I was scared of my mom. I was like, if I tell her, she'll think I had something to do with it.
Okay. You contributed, yeah. Okay.
I contributed to it. So that was the only reason I never told her. But I wish I did. And then she told me later that it had something to do with me. But I wish an adult was taking care of that and not me as an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
If it happened to you as a child and now you are an adult and trying to figure things out, and this trauma, you can't just rub it off and assume and keep going. It keeps coming back. Just seek therapy. There's no way around it.
You must deal with it or it will
You
show
must
its
deal
way
with it. Yes.
in your life. Huh?
Yes. So that I can also even have conversations with my daughter now that are not using that filter of me having gone through this pain, so that I can show up for her fully and for her to really enjoy her journey with sex. Because in as much as there's this abuse, sex is not a bad thing. There's a place for it. Just for me to be able to do better by her, I needed to heal, and I'm still healing.
It's a lifelong journey. In fact, I think this we never discussed. I remember when I did your story when you were 21.
Yes.
And I think you had won a pageant. There was a pageant you had won. Which pageant was that?
It was Miss Koch and Miss Dandora, which I did in 2010.
Yes. And I remember by the time I had done your story, so you had been through hell and back. And I don't know if you were even back. I
wasn't
you
back.
were not even back. You were you were still stuck.
In the midst of it. You know,
in
it's
the midst
funny.
of
there's
it.
a time I used to reflect back on it. And, we were seated at I&M at the staircase. I used to see myself carrying a child. But I didn't have a child. So it shows I hadn't even let go of my son. Now you're going ahead of ourselves.
Yes, okay. So now, between the ages of 8 and this happened, you left the school. How did
Yes, I left the school. I started acting out, and my mom had to change my school because I would not go to school. I wouldn't believe I'll go and face that man again.
And a lot of parents, when their kids start acting out, they think their children are bad. And I think I had this conversation with someone where I was saying that kids don't have language to express what is going on. They don't have the words because they don't understand.
Yes.
And so the best way a child communicates is through acting up.
Yes.
And a lot of parents think you beat the kid or you do what, but instead of finding out what is the reason that is bringing this side, your child is basically like crying out for help. And so they are doing that through misbehaving or doing wrong things. In a way, she moved you to another school, but she never investigated to find out to the root. Yeah, but I guess there were only certain tools that our parents had in that era. Yes, yeah.
And she did the best she could with what she knew. She just knew this one is acting out. I need to beat her. Anafaa kurudi kwa line. Anatoka kwa line, you know. Because I would wake up in the morning, dress up, take a matatu, either alight before I get to school or get to at the final stage and just start walking aimlessly.
Because you didn't want to go to school.
Because I didn't want to go to this school. Yeah.
So it's almost like a lot of times, even if kids don't know something is wrong, they know it's wrong. They might not understand how it's wrong. So your action was justified. It's like you were just doing it in a way because you didn't know how to have a outlet for what was happening to you. So you moved to a different school. And by the time we met, when we were 21, I always say this, like your story. When you told me your story, I was like, I don't know many people who are 21 who have gone through all this. You had been through so many things And when it was all said and done, you were smiling. And like when you told me your story, you're telling me about your hopes for the future. And I was like, how can you have hope? You've been through so much.
Yeah.
And maybe just take us through some of the things you remember between that abuse and by the time we were meeting and you had won the pageant.
So after changing schools, I think my mom was always very, looking at me weirdly, like this child, I'm not even so sure of you. And we also had some issues before then where I was also acting out because someone had told me my dad is not my dad. So we were not having very smooth of a relationship. And so it's like I was just in a world of my own and trying my best to prove myself, but it's never enough. And wondering, what exactly do I do? So I was always kind of an outsider in this family, but trying my best to be seen and to be loved. Because this love was not coming at home, I now started looking for it outside. And it's not that I was, it's not that I was going out, looking I'm going to look for love. No, when it came, it found me in a vulnerable state, and that person saw a loophole and took advantage of it. So I wanted to be a nun. I was like, Jesus has been there for me. So what kept me during that time? Because the abuse with my uncle went from now when I was 8. I moved school, yes, but he was still there up until I was 13. When I now said, if you continue...
So there was the teacher and then now the uncle. Okay.
So I told him, if I got my voice now, because it was just playful. It was playful. There was no penetration. But he tried penetrating. And I was like, where? I've never felt anything like that. Like, that's crazy pain. So I told him, if you continue, I'll tell mom. I'll actually tell on you. And I wish I knew that was all I needed. So maybe what I would tell girls is, just tell someone you say, even if you won't, just say it. It sends someone off balance and they probably might stay away. Or just look for someone you can tell for sure. So he stopped. And so from there, I was a bit more peaceful. I was doing well in school when we moved. We moved from Nairobi and went to Nakuru for some time. My mom had built a house and she was so excited, and we were all excited to move. And I was doing really well because the schooling in Nairobi, I think, is way better than rural areas, especially where we were in Nakuru. So I became... from class 4 to class 8, I was number one or number 2. At class 7, it became a bit off, but then I went back. So there was that. And then we came back to Nairobi, and I wanted to go to high school so badly. When I was in class 8, I had said, it's not a must. I can do tailoring. My parents thought I was mad. They were so angry. But it's because I was looking, like the way you say, I was always looking at my life, like not where I am, like what will happen. I always wanted to figure life out.
Is it possible that you saw that maybe there might not be money for high school, and so you were trying to come up with your own backup plan?
No one in our family had gone to uni, had gone to high school or uni. So I was like, this is not a possibility. Why am I overdreaming? But when they said they would take me, I was like, okay. And then someone also encouraged me and said, if they are going to take you, just do school. And now taking all the things that were wrong with our family had a meaning, because now I'm working towards school. So I'd be the best I can so I can finish my school. So there was a bit of a hassle to stay in school. So I didn't go to the best of schools. It's what was affordable, mostly community high schools. But I did finish. I didn't perform the best, but I did finish. For me, the goal was to finish, to just have my Form 4 certificate, and I got it. So at the same time, before finishing Form 4, I think when I was in Form 3, I met this boy. Now, by then I had decided I want to be a nun. I wanted to be a nun so that I can teach. I wanted to teach and also just serve Jesus. And church during that time really helped. I used to love singing, and I would sing in church, and I knew God was there for me. So anything else might not make sense, but God is there for me, and He'll make a way somehow. So there was that. And then I thought, okay, let me just be a nun then. Then I'll be serving God, because I don't have the idea of ever enjoying a relationship or sex or anything. Let me just serve Jesus and his children. So when I met this boy, he wanted to be a priest. And I was like, oh, wow, so nice. How lovely of God. So the relationship was a friendship. And then it progressed. And because I didn't have a voice, when sex was in the picture, I didn't know how to say no. And I also didn't know if I could go back to God and still pretend to be wanting to be a nun. So that I had to think, what is the next thing? So in Form 4, I registered for my Form 4, and I was like, let me do other things. Let me read for myself, because school, it was fairly community schools. There are not enough teachers. So like 5 teachers, and it's Form 1 to Form 4.
So a teacher is almost like teaching all the subjects for a whole lot.
And these ones are also probably graduate. The Form 4 graduates from last year.
So it's not even like really qualified teachers.
Yeah. So I was like, let me just go to the library, read, and then do other things as I figure life out. So I saw the call for girls for the beauty pageant. It was Miss Dimes, which is like a version of Miss Dandora, which I did for like 3 months, training for it for 3 months, and then I was awarded. It was so weird. I never even thought of myself as beautiful. Like you grow up and people don't tell you you're beautiful or anything like that. So I was quite shocked. You mean I can win? So I won. And then I got now the urge to do Miss Scotch, which was in the neighboring community. I became Miss Scotch. Still with the boyfriend. The boyfriend is nice because he's telling me things I don't hear all the time, like you're beautiful, I love you. Very small things, small gestures that used to make me so happy. Yeah, so we did that. I got also to be Miss Scotch, which was really exciting. So kids were now running to me kwa mtaa, nasema, oh, Miss Scotch, Miss Dimes. Nimekuwa a celebrity wa mtaa, jokingly. So that felt nice. Now I did, after that, because it was in August and October, November we did my KCC. December 1st, I realized I was pregnant. Oh my God.
How old were you?
I had just turned 19. It was such a downer. I felt such a disappointment to myself, to my parents, to the community, to the people who trusted me with these crowns. It was so sad. So now my dad was like, oh, okay, so you've decided you want to get pregnant? Then now you have to get married. So,
okay, 19, you're so young.
Yes. This boy was called. He was told, now you need to take your wife. And he was so happy. Now he has a wife. I'm looking at life and I'm thinking all the poverty I never wanted is coming.
At that time, you were all staying in Dandora?
Yes,
or where?
Yes, we were all in Dandora. Okay. He was a neighbor in one of the plots we were living in, and then we moved. So it was like a walking distance. So that's why we got so much time. Because when you're neighbors, there's like that element of fear. But now when we were living in separate places, I would just go and my parents would not know I've gone. So there was that freedom, sort of. Yeah, so we went, started life together, which was crazy.
How was the life? How was the experience when you look back?
Very bad. First of all, pregnancy refused me completely. I was sick 24/7 for the first trimester, a bit of the second. Actually throughout, but second and third was a bit easier. But first was hell. And then we were living in an 800 shillings house. He sold his kafon for us to get this house. We were ever late on rent. The landlady would keep abusing us and saying the way we are so stupid. We have no idea of what we are doing.
How old was he?
He was a year older.
So he was 20 and you were 19, yeah. And he didn't even have a job.
He doesn't have a job. He's not even sure this was going to happen. For him, to kujichocha, man, I can do this. So he also doesn't want to do some other things. Remember, he wanted to be a priest. Obviously, this was not his idea.
Part of the plan, yeah.
So we would have some sleepless nights because we didn't have food. He didn't get any money that day, so we are hungry. And when you're hungry and pregnant, it's crazy.
Oh, I can imagine.
We wouldn't be able to save. No one is working, so there was nothing to save for. We didn't talk about where I would go to Hosi or what would happen, clothes for the kid, nothing, completely nothing.
So there's no even way to even plan for those because there's no option. Yeah.
There's no option.
What was going through your mind in this season? Are you still hopeful, or at this point you're like you've
I,
given up?
I was at my lowest. I was like, I have done stupid things, but this one is the stupidest. And then I'll have a whole child who I will take. And then for me, I was always afraid of poverty. So now seeing it playing out.
Oh, okay.
And I had a way of getting out of it, and I messed it up. I was so hard on myself.
What did you think was your way out? Was it education? Was it pageant?
It was education and just working. I was ready to do anything. I would work anywhere. I remember there was a time I was thinking, I hear strippers make a lot of money. Maybe if I go, I might just work with this pregnancy they want, no? But surely I was sick throughout.
Yeah, but you also didn't have many options, Yeah.
I wouldn't even know where you go. Where do you even start to get strip clubs? So that was crazy. So the baby came. We called my mom. She came, and I really thank God for her. Because that time when she came, I always tell myself I felt the way you see in movies, Superman landing, and saving the day. Oh my God, that's how I felt. She came, paid the bill, went shopping, and bought many, many clothes. There used to be those yellow paper bags.
I remember them.
Yes.
Those big ones,
She went and filled it with clothes, baby clothes. I felt so loved. And then she took me to a friend where I stayed for at least a month before, being taken care of before boyfriend comes and takes us and pays, because this was supposed to be a loan, and pays the loan.
Okay.
Where is he getting the money?
No,
for him, he's even
way.
happy now. He doesn't have to worry about this. Then now a month, two, the friend was like, no, yet I'm broke. You guys have to go.
Okay.
So he went back home, and my dad was angry. My dad never even looked at that child. He never even held that child. He was like, no.
What was the child's name?
David.
Yeah, okay, David.
David.
Yeah.
Oh, David. He was so cute, that little boy. He never used to make noise. He used to cry. Like, he would not even
silently.
hear him. God bless his little soul. So he was just growing. That's the beauty of a child. Like, they just grow. And he was just growing. He didn't know what was happening around him. He kind of understood, because he would allow me at least to work at home. So even me staying home was good, because then I would be the extra set of hands for helping. So at least you're not lazy. So you're helping in that regard. By the time he turned 3 months, he started getting really sick. He would cough, and I'm like, okay, children do get sick. So where do you go? No, when I was pregnant, I didn't even have the 20 shillings ya kwenda clinic, which you pay kwa kanjo.
And 20 shillings was not a lot.
Like, it was not a lot. And it was so much. I couldn't get it. So even after he came now, taking him to Fosi and getting the 20 shillings was really, really hard. For him to just be checked. And I was really happy when they said kids can just be looked at without you paying. That is the idea that the government has. But ukienda kwa ground, things are different. Yeah, so we were told, go outside and buy cough syrup. Cough syrup is a 500 bob. Wow.
Hey, 500 bob is a lot if you can't even get
20 was hard. Imagine 500. So I was busy telling anyone and everyone who would listen, I'm looking for a job. Please get me a job. I really want to get out of this, and I know I can work. I am not choosy. Give me any job. Sorry. And I didn't sadly get a job. But there was one time I was told to go for entrepreneurship classes, and I just joined. I wasn't even sure what that would do, but at least I'll be doing something towards my future. Like, no one will get the skills out of my head.
How many months was the baby then?
He was still around 3 months and still sickly. So I'm just trying my best. Because if a person cannot give you a job, they're telling you, this is what I can give you. So I was like, okay, I'll come to the training, no worries. And then I got an outside catering job once, and I was able to buy the meds. We were being given, I think, 1,000 a day or 500. I don't even remember. So I was given that, and I was able to buy meds for him. And all this time I'm looking for the dad and I'm telling him, hey, do something, just try your best. He was still trying his best maybe, and it wasn't working. With him not getting better and home being more and more not the best place to stay,
Okay. Yeah.
I had to think of where I was going. And a friend of mine in the entrepreneurship classes who really loved him invited us. It was around December 2012. Invited us for Christmas. And I was so eager to go because that Christmas I thought my dad had introduced this culture where you were given 10,000 for new clothes and new shoes every Christmas. And then some extra that the whole
That's
year
good money, eh?
you have to good clothes.
Okay.
But my mom was in charge, so
Yeah.
my bro and sis were crazy, so they would get their full amount. But me, whatever you give me, it's okay.
Yeah.
I didn't love quarreling or stepping on anyone's toes. So this time he didn't count us. I was already a disappointment, so he didn't count us. But I was so sad because clothes for a 3-month-old baby is 500. I was like, hata mbai can go to kamiatano. They didn't. So me going to my friend's house was out of anger. Like, you guys really do this to me. Hata kama you hate me this much, you can't also hate an innocent child.
An innocent child, yeah.
But I think that was some sort of entitlement. Anyway. So we went to the friend and I never left. We just stayed there. So in January when he was around 4 months, he's still coughing. It's not getting any better. I'm still looking for a job. I'm not getting. I'm being told, do you send CV where I send what I send? Nothing is forthcoming. But we went for cervical cancer screening because the mom of my friend was like the community mobilizer.
Okay.
Mama Njoki. She passed on last year. God rest her soul. So she told us to go and say she was the one who sent us. So she would get some sort of to money just because she had sent us. And we got tested. At the same time, we were told, so you do after cervical cancer screening, it's so negative. You should also do HIV testing. So we went and did HIV testing. Me, when I was pregnant, I had done HIV testing. It was negative. I had one boyfriend all my life. So it was okay. Oh, Charlie. There I was getting positive results.
Oh.
We had to redo that test 3 times until the counselor was, this one can't change. It's here, it's that. So then my child is crying outside Devi and I'm thinking, gosh, this has been the thing. That's why he's not getting better. And sadly, 2 weeks later, he passed on.
How did you make peace with your HIV positive status?
I don't think I even had to make peace. For me, it was like thinking, my God, I've lost him. Maybe let me go back to the dad. He's the one who understands me. Okay. Maybe we'll figure it together. But we never did figure it out. He was on a different mission than the one I was on. So I had to leave him to be able to take care of my health.
At that time, you were 21, eh?
Yes, that's when we met.
So you met at 21, your baby passed on at?
Early that year in Feb. So I was around 20 still, or 21. Because 21, 22, I don't even remember very well. But it was in 2012.
Okay. Yeah. So and I think we met in 2014, if I'm
in
not?
2012.
In 2012.
Yeah, around October.
So by the time I was meeting you, you had gone through,
all this had happened.
Childhood of not being understood, of poverty here and there. You had been sexually abused, and then you find love, and then now you have a baby, and you find out that you have HIV positive. You are HIV positive, and so you've had all these experiences,
and losing the child,
and now the baby dies. Yeah. So how do you pick? And at that time, I don't even know if anyone can console you. I don't even know how to articulate. It seems like such a dark hole to be in, because there's no formula. How do you get out of this hole? You at this time you want better for yourself, and I think you said one of your biggest fears was a life of poverty, and so now you're finding yourself in this life. And I remember when I did your interview, I was much older than you. And I wanted to do your story with so much respect. And you were so open about your story. I thought that was so, I had never met someone who was so open. You are not, and I was like, how do I protect her? Because she's still 21 and she's been through so much.
And I think I said so many things.
You said everything. And I wanted the story to be respectful and honorable, but to also tell I wanted your voice to be the story.
Yes.
But I could not understand how you still had faith and hope. And I remember talking to you, telling me, I want to change the lives of young girls. Do you have a laptop? Help me. I want to do this. You had these big dreams. And I was like, this is the life you've experienced.
Yes.
Where are these dreams?
We actually met after I had joined another beauty pageant. Now after all this, trying to figure myself out because beauty pageant is something I knew how to do. So I joined another one, Miss Fabulous, and I didn't win, but I got to meet the likes of Akina Roslyn, Sarah Nana, who actually introduced me to you. And when they were sharing, I was like, oh, because I was asking God, so what do I do with this? This is a lot you've given me. So show me what to do with it. It's so heavy. So when I saw them sharing their life journeys and the way it was so impactful to me, I felt, okay, this is something I can do. If my story can really change someone else's life and make them make better choices and not have to go through what I've gone through, then well and good, that's what I want to do. So that's how I actually got into now telling my story. I had a reason why. I had now a purpose.
A purpose. Okay, so your story was able to give you a purpose.
Yes.
And where did you get the faith from? I don't... You were telling me, I remember you telling me, I've lost my son. I've lost my son. My son is passed on. I remember it was so sad, but you told me, I'm going to have another child. I'm going to find love. I'm going to have a successful life. I remember thinking...
I told you I want to go to school. I want to do community development. And I actually went and did.
And you were laughing and you were so bubbly. And I could not understand. I looked at this small girl and I was like, how do I tell her life might not work like that? You know, like how, but at the same time, I was so fascinated by your faith.
Yeah.
And now 11 years later, to see that all the things you said would happen
on that day
have happened.
Yes.
Like I remember at some point I was seeing you in Facebook going to talk in big conferences in the US and you're going to talk here and there. And I was like, this girl came, it was nothing. It was not even possible at the time that we were discussing. How did it even come to be? Where did you get the faith from? Have you always been a person of hope? And you know, faith is believing in something that you cannot see the physical manifestation is. It's seeing it in your mind and believing that it can come to pass.
Yeah.
Why were you so sure that all these things was going to happen, despite the first quarter of your life being filled with every unimaginable? In fact, all these things should have broken you.
I know, right?
Many people cannot handle the weight of some of the things that you have had to carry. You had to carry as a child, which is even harder. Yeah.
I wish there was a formula. And now I'm trying to find what formula that is. I'm doing lots of research on it just to understand what is that one can share with others. Is there a template that can be used? But for me, I think at that point it helped that I knew God wanted what was good for me. Like there's this verse I used to carry with me everywhere in my heart. Jeremiah 13. Is it 13? I don't even remember now. But there's 29:13. And it says, for I know the plans that I have for you, plans of good and not of evil, to give you your expected end. So that was my mantra.
I think it's 29:11, if I'm not wrong, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So that was my mantra. I used to carry it everywhere, like this person who is bigger than all of us has said that my future is supposed to be better. And I used to enjoy movies that had that happy ending. Like for some reason, I knew there was a happy ending waiting for me. So that really helped. No matter what you're facing now, there's a happy ending. And music, I would get lost in music and movies and books. I used to read books. I used to love books. And I would gear towards, those ones that that had happy ending. So I knew somewhere along the way there was a happy ending for me. I just have to wait it out. Wait it out. So for me, the idea was wait it out.
It doesn't matter
It
how
doesn't
now
matter.
looks like.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it will come. So that for me was my driving force, that it would work out. And also just wanting to, having an idea of where I'm going. So having an idea of, I don't know if I told you then, I wanted to travel. So there was that. I was always sure that I would travel. I wanted to work for the UN. I wanted to go to school. For them, I just wanted a degree because it seemed like the biggest thing. But now I want to be called Dr. Lucy.
Yeah, amen.
So I'm looking for master's scholarship, but also just trying how I can get to school and do my master's. But I know I'll be a Dr. Lucy. So that there's that. So I think that conviction of what do I know, what do I want, has always really helped. Yeah, it gives me sort of a focus and leads me. So then I said I want to reach 1 million girls. Like that seemed like such an odd
What
big
did you
number.
want to do for 1 million girls?
I just want them to know life gets better, and like you somehow you're in the driver's seat. It might look like someone else is driving your car, but you're in the driver's seat. You can decide where your life will go. So keep driving yourself towards where you want to go, despite everything that is happening. There was this book I read when I was in primary. I don't even remember the name, but I remember the cover having a girl living in a place where there was such a big mountain of dirt, and she only had a spoon. And she said with this spoon, she would finish that mountain of dirt. So for me, there's that idea. With my spoon, I will finish this mountain of dirt that is in my life, and I will go to the other side.
That's very powerful. Yeah. What has been 3 moments in your life that have been like the biggest highlight? Like impossible things that have happened, and you've stood in those moments and been like, I can't believe this has happened. Yeah.
I think when I stood at Times Square in New York, that was complete madness. And this song in New York for Alicia Keys just kept playing in my head. When I found love again, love that was kind, love that was, love that knew me and saw me for who I was, that also felt like the world to me. And my baby, being a mom again, I was scared stiff. I don't know why I even told you I want to be a mom again.
You are so sure. I asked you like twice. And you're like, I'm going to be a mom again. You had so much conviction, and you were only 21 at the time.
I know, right?
What time did you become, which age did you become a mom?
24, 25. Because she's now 8. I just turned 33 yesterday. So yeah, she's 8 turning 9 in November. So that one was big, but also very scary. I didn't want to pass HIV on. And now it has progressed. Like there's a lot. Medication is really good.
Yeah, that's true.
And now you have something called U equals U. If you are undetectable, you can't transmit HIV to a sexual partner. And now they are doing research for pregnancy and breastfeeding. But you already know, like, somehow as a person who's living with HIV, like there's as long as you're taking your treatment, the viral load in your blood goes very low, you can't transmit HIV.
Do you still have to like take medication every day?
Yes, for it to remain low. Yes, you still have to take
and your
medication.
Daughter, you weren't able to, you were able to
she's
protect
negative.
her?
Yes,
she's
yes,
negative,
yes. Just because you're taking, you're undetectable, you can't transmit. And also to my husband, he's also negative. Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting and very powerful.
Yeah.
Have you ever had imposter syndrome? Have you ever found yourself in a room?
Yes.
And you're like, oh my gosh, what is a girl from Dandora doing here?
When I was in those WHO UNAIDS meeting, sitting my seat, I was representing Africa. So me and my other colleague, we are representing Africa. And the person who's sitting next to me is the ambassador at large, the US ambassador at large. Someone who's sitting with the president after this meeting.
Yeah.
And I'm there also making decisions, adding to decisions that she's making.
Yeah.
Hey, for me, it was big, Charlie. That was crazy. Those used to be crazy moments.
Yeah. And you hadn't even turned 30 by then,
yes? Yes. And then I knew that, there's better. And I think that's why this book, I just wanted to show people, imagine it doesn't matter. Because sometimes we hear it and we think it's cliche, but imagine things do get better. Just wait it out. Wait it out.
Wait it out.
Yeah,
Oof.
wait it out. And keep going towards where are you going? Because the other thing, I was with kids, young girls, teenage moms, on Wednesday. Now I'm lost. This week has been a blur. On Wednesday. And I was asking them, what are your dreams? And you can tell they've never been asked or thought about that.
That they can even dream.
They can even dream. Like, dreams are free. You don't have to pay anyone. You just have to think of crazy ideas. Think your crazy ideas. Yeah. If it doesn't come true, it's okay. At least you thought them. You know? Okay. Even now, when I think of my life, I've not even gotten to where I want to go still. Yes, I've come far, but I'm not even where I want to go. I want to have, employing hundreds of people, if not thousands. I want to, see myself living my full life. What is my fullest, highest potential? That's where I'm aiming at this moment. So showing others that you can do that, for me, that's the joy. And that's what I was hoping to do with this book, to just show people, keep at it.
Keep at it. How do you deal with the conflict between how your now looks absolutely different? And you are using your imagination, you're dreaming about something that seems so impossible. How do you not become discouraged? Because it's very easy to be discouraged. I when I met you, you are not looking discouraged at all. I think I was feeling discouraged on your behalf. Like, how do you deal with that conflict of the dream and the reality? How do you reconcile both?
Maybe I'm those Delulu people I see now.
Yeah. But Delulu is good. A little Delulu is good for the soul.
I give myself moments where I feel down and then I get back up. Because I do have like the things I go for. This book, I wanted to get to girls who are in the rural and slum areas where I was. They can't afford. They're not looking towards buying a book. They're working on meals and basic needs. So I've been looking for people who can support me getting the book out. Okay. So either NGOs, those people who have extra monies, corporates who have CSR. Sometimes I think, this one will go through and no one cares. No one has money for you. So then sometimes I feel, will this happen? So I feel down, kidogo, and then I'm like, it will. The idea did not come into my head for nothing. There is something to it.
And I like that you're actually, a lot of people think that when you're on a high, you're on a constant high. That when you're chasing something, you believe. And I think I like the way you're highlighting that you can actually believe and there's room for doubt. Even doubt, like you have doubt, but you still say, I have doubt, but I'll believe. Yes. It's like the both of them almost exist. They coexist. And
it's just like joy and sadness.
Yes. The duality of joy and sadness. And it's not, so when you're discouraged, it doesn't mean that you still don't believe.
Yes.
And I like the way you said, wait it out.
Yes.
Continue to believe in the dream. And I also like the way you said that, like you didn't get the dream for nothing.
Yes.
So you perseverance. Yes. Keep waiting it out and keep trying. And I know you, even as we've done the interview, you've talked about your dad. Were you, apart from the success that you've experienced, I'm sure you've talked on many platforms. Like what are some of the platforms that you've talked, before I bring you back now to your dad, because I have a very important question to ask before we finish.
Yes.
Like what are some of the countries you've been able to travel?
I've gone to many countries. I've gone to Geneva, Switzerland. I've gone to the US, Seattle, New York, Washington, DC. I've been to Portugal. I never saw myself there. It was really nice in summer. I've been to Amsterdam. I loved Amsterdam. I would live there. I've been to Ghana. Ghana was awesome because it looks like Kenya, but warmer, like Mombasa. I've been to SA. Okay, I've been to Europe, US. I think I've not been to any Arab countries, so hopefully that presents itself. And I'm still on the journey. I'm still waiting to travel, even if it's not for work, even just taking myself and my family.
And boards, are there some boards that you've been on?
Oh, yes. I sat in the UNAIDS board. It's called PCB, Program Coordinating Board to the UNAIDS.
A girl from where?
From Dandora. Hey, that's where I was sitting with those ministries, because you sit with ministers in these meetings because the decisions affect each country. So you sit with people who can make those decisions. I'm now sitting in ICASO, which is also a global network of organizations of people living with HIV. I've sat in crazy places. Yeah, I've been in tables where I had no business being, but God said, "This is the table for you."
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
And how were you able to reconcile with your dad? And how important do you think it is?
That is.
If you have a parent who was not necessarily what you would deem as ideal, or you feel like your parent was not there for you the way you feel like maybe you deserved, how are you able to reconcile that with your dad?
Well, hey, Shirley always ask the hard questions. That one refused. We never really got to. There was a time we had a fairly good relationship, and then he went to work abroad and totally disregarded I even exist. So for the last 8, 9, 10 years, he hasn't met my husband, hasn't met my baby. And since he's okay with it, so I've had to be okay with it. I even looked for my biological dad.
Because he was your stepdad, eh?
Yes, he was my stepdad. He's my stepdad. He's still there. My biological dad also had things to work on. And I saw he would take me again back to a dark place. So I chose out of that.
Okay.
Because I was always eager to find him. So when I found him, I was like, oh, is this it? This is not what not what I want in my life. It won't work out for my best. This one will destroy me even further. And then he passed on.
Did you attend the funeral?
2 years, yes, I went.
Your real dad or your stepdad?
My real dad.
Oh, okay.
I went to Turkana. I met my aunties. I've always had this connection with women that doesn't just have to be with me being a woman. There's just some other element to it. So one of his sisters was there, and I had such a great connection to her. Okay. And I would look at her and see myself. She's so tall, like I am.
Okay. Tall
so that was nice. Seeing my people, seeing where he grew up was really nice, and some of my other siblings.
A lot of times people think that you can only heal if you sit down with the person and the person tells you, I am sorry. But there are other ways that you can find healing outside even that person telling you the words that
you can choose you. You can choose you and choose yourself. Choose healing for you and just know you can't change people.
Oh,
people have to meet you halfway. And if they're not willing to meet you, it's okay, work on you. What else is working well for you? My grandpa, my mom's dad, he passed on last year, but that man, I used to look at him like my dad. So now, yesterday, because I think it was my birthday, I was so emotional. I wanted that father figure to just say, happy birthday or something. So I missed him so much yesterday, my granddad, but he lived his full life. He died at almost 100. So he lived his full life.
That and he lived a full life.
So I've also met mentors who are older and are men, and you see, this is how I would have wanted my dad.
Your dad.
So I celebrate those tiny, minute cases. I call them glimmers. So I take those glimmers home and to heart.
Okay. Where are you now? I think our time has run its course. I wish we had more time, but where is Lucy right now?
So at this time, I'm back to my goal of reaching 1 million girls. I would want to reach 1 million girls. I'm 2,000 on that journey. I've reached 2,000 girls.
You want to inspire? With the book?
With the book. So I think that it's easier for me to track that. The other ones was conversations, talks. It's very hard to track per se, and articles, media. But this one I can track. If I see 1 million books out, then I know I've reached at least 1 million people, 1 million girls specifically. So that is the journey now. I'm also working on my master's, also looking for...
That's nice.
Yes. I'm also looking for scholarships. So whichever comes first. I'm doing it at St. Paul's because I did ComDev. So now I'm doing development studies. So whichever comes first. If I get a scholarship, I might leave that one or maybe finish and just have two as I go towards.
What course are you?
development studies.
Oh, you even said you're doing development studies. What would be your closing statement? Like, what would you tell people to?
And the positive young women voices. My team will think I don't like them.
Please tell us that. It's called Positive?
Positive Young Women Voices.
What is it? Is it an NGO?
It's a CBO in Dandora, where we are even hosting global networks in this CBO. Oh. So there's a network that is global that we are hosting called Stream Network. So it's working well, and we're reaching girls. We are dealing with ending violence against women and girls. We are working at having positive living with HIV. We are working at feeling you belong and your voice matters as a woman. So empowerment, financial, socioeconomic, all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your dream is a reality. It came true. Like I feel good because I didn't know how to. I don't want to say I was a doubter, but I was in a tough spot where I was seeing reality and I was seeing the ambition. I was like, how is it?
It might not reconcile.
How will it reconcile? But I really love seeing your story. What advice can you give someone who's in closing?
Yes.
Whose reality does not look like the dream that God has put in their heart or the dream that they may have. Like what words would you give?
I'll tell you to just keep going. The same way, hoping in the grandest of things, in the best for myself and for those who are in my life, better days. That is mine to you. Keep hoping for the best. There is best. Keep going for what you want. Just don't take what you're seeing as the final thing. Where you are does not determine where you're going. So just keep going, keep hope alive, and you'll get to where you want to go. And give time. Give time.
Amen to that. Thank you so much for tuning in to the 13th episode. I hope that Lucy's story has inspired you. If you want to read more, if you want to know more about her book is available. You can Google her online and find out, or even follow her on social media. I will leave all that information for you. But I hope that everything that was said today will inspire you and ignite you to be the best version of yourself. After this episode, we will be going on a short break. I'll have one more episode and then we'll go on a break for a month before we start season 2. But thank you so much for tuning in every month. We are so blessed. Thank you so much. Bye.